Welcome, all you beautiful people out there. Welcome to Stage 13 of the Stage Clear podcast. My name is Tim. This is my co host, James.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Greetings. I hope everyone's doing well.
Good to see all you beautiful people today. Um, happy Sunday. Those don't know we record on Sundays, so Lord's Day, happy Sunday.
Definitely, definitely. Lord's Day. I like that.
Before we get into it, let's get some plugs going. There'll be timestamps you can skip over if you need. If you heard it before a million times, if you're one of the loyal subscribers, loyal listeners, we appreciate you. But yeah, so we got this available on any podcast platform that you would search us up on. Just search up Stage Clear Podcast. We're there. 5-star reviews there help us out a ton. Anything like that. Comments and reviews would really, let us know how we're doing, let us know what you think, and help the algorithm tell people, hey, this is good, give it to others. Besides just word of mouth. Word of mouth is great. Word of mouth is important. We appreciate the word of mouth spreading. But yeah, so leave 5-star comments, subscribe, like, comment, review on all the stuff, and we will get more people here. So cool deal. And then we also have the YouTube channel, Stage Clear Podcast on YouTube. We put up videos Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday about the last podcast that happened and different video segments that were pretty, informative or just entertaining. So check those out if you don't have time to watch the whole thing. I know it can get a little long sometimes. James has his own YouTube. We got our own social medias where we're doing things. All those links in the description below. Just one more real quick. I mean, I've started, life coaching. I don't know if I talked about that last time as well, but yeah, so, hit me up with those links and we can help you kind of build the best life you can think of. And my whole tagline is solving the world's problems one dad at a time, helping you become the best version of yourself through self-improvement, communication, health, and relationships. So if you need help in any of those realms, you're struggling a little bit, you need a little bit of guidance, you need a mental reframe, I'm more than happy to start working with you on that. Just hit me up with the links down below. And yeah, anything else, James?
I don't know. Actually, I just wanted to say, man, I love that you're really your focus is on fathers specifically. I'm sure men and women, but I love the focus on fathers, man, because I feel like in our society there are resources, but not as much as ladies and. So it's nice to see like there are ministries, there's groups, there's coaching that specifically accommodates fathers specifically.
Yeah,
We yeah,
we
it's
we
not
have
easy.
a
It's not an easy position to fulfill as being a father. I
no,
mean,
no.
as you know.
And what's at stake is too much. All too much is at stake when we really truly look at the problems today and how we can focus on what we can control. And we can control developing ourselves. Being better husbands, being better fathers, getting a better family, being better for our family, and then helping in the community. That's how we kind of change things. So if you'd like to do any of that, join me on this journey of self-improvement and everything. I'd love to have you. Reach out to me throughout those links. I also actually just started, or I'm going to start, I should say, scheduled starting out a newsletter. Right. So we got a first email dropping this June 1st, and it's about growing from your pain. So it's called The Hero's Journey. You can find it on my Twitter or anywhere else. It's in, like I said, there's going to be links for it. But yeah, The Hero's Journey, and it's breaking down the steps of self-improvement and the journey itself. So if you're interested in that thing, you want to read more about what I have to say about those topics, it's going live for June 1st. Subscribe to that. We'd love to see you there. And
Yes.
without further ado, your Stage 13 of the Stage Clear podcast. James,
Sir,
what do you have for me?
man. First off, I just have to say, man, your plugs, man, they're getting better, man. They are getting, man, you are getting so much better at that.
I think we'll get to a point where we're automating it and I edit them in, but for now you get
Yeah,
them
yeah,
fresh, you get them live. You get that Tim Dolan charisma stat just shoved in your face every day.
Oh no, yeah. I just remember when we were transitioning into the initial plugs, and it was kind of like a little choppy. But now, man, you're like it's like, yeah, man, you're yeah, but yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've alluded to this in some past conversations, but somebody I know very dearly, and I have a lot of people who have go through a lot of different challenges and stuff, but I have one person in particular I know that is, they lived a life where they were like a lot of young men, kind of like exploring different women and things like that intimately. And finally, I guess this gentleman, things caught up with him, and he impregnated a lady that he didn't actually really know, really understood, like, her personality, her character, or lack of character. He didn't really know much about her, but yeah, he's kind of learning the hard way now that even though he wants to do what's right, she has one of those personalities that's very rough around the edges, and then her family is an entirely different animal. I'm gonna say, they have much harsher and rougher personalities than she has,
Oh
So
no.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he is trying to, and I've been trying to talk to him and minister to him, like I do a lot of people that are in my life and things like that, and I just kind of share what the Bible says about um, what the standard is in regards to like stepping up, especially as men. And yeah, I can see he wants to do what's right. He's trying, but she has very short. Like, I don't know. She has very low patience for even just arguments if they don't start going in the
Her
direction that
way.
she. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
man. So it's a rough deal, man. And she's at the point where she will grab your stuff. She will grab your bank cards, bend them. She will kick your stuff in the street. Like she's all the way on
One
the
of
on that spectrum.
those.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it's a rough one, man. But yeah, man. It's interesting because I try not to push too much on him about this, but I do remind him that this is the perfect example of why it's important to date and explore the person that you actually consider being with, because to avoid stuff like this. But
Yeah.
I know you being a father and a husband, um, I'm sure you have some insight
I
on that,
do.
just for the people in general, regarding this kind of topic, man, because I would love to hear your thoughts as
Yeah.
well on.
And like I
on
said,
this.
part of the tagline is self-improvement, communication, health, and relationships. I do have a lot of experience as far as building a proper relationship. I've been with my wife 9 years now, 1 year married, 8 years just together. And I used to think, I didn't really have too much advice for people in this realm because I was lucky I found the one I wanted right away and we made it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I
Mhm.
realize is it's not about, I don't need to have a bunch of bodies to tell someone like the proper way to find love and build a loving relationship,
Correct,
because that is not the
correct.
goal, right? And with any person you would hire for advice or anyone you'd listen to for advice, you should look at the people that are living the life or have something that you would want to attain, right? And have them teach you rather
Amen.
than people that
Amen to
just are
that.
visually from the outside, right? So if you want to find that long-term relationship and start building the lasting relationship, or maybe you're already in one, maybe you're in a marriage, whatever, and you'd like to make that better, build that, make secure that foundation, I can help you with that. And in this sense, what James is talking about here, it's it's a clear sign, as he said, of the results of when we don't date intentionally, and when we're kind of just going through life, not really a plan, not really a care for the results or the outcomes, rolling the dice all the time, and not really having the foresight to ensure that proper steps are taken, that we don't make any mistakes or that would lead to negative outcomes like this. And I would say that with this specific scenario, it's a little bit um, it's just challenging because I don't know the lady. I've heard
Oh, yeah.
what your brother's doing, and what everything's happening is in the sense of like him trying to be there for that relationship, right, and do the right thing, as we said when
Yeah.
when you point to like a moral foundation like the Bible, but just in the sense of like being there for the kid in the not a marriage yet, but like the relationship, right? And when the person isn't who you think they are, or if things change, that gets hard. A lot of times it might seem like the easy thing to do to just cut your losses and go, but obviously situations are different now. There's a child that's going to be involved. Um, so when that, in that sense, it's important to first of all come at it from like a peaceable, tone, like a peaceful environment, and not try to not foster any ill will or anything, because that will only lead to further negatives, right?
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
it's when you can work with someone like that and you can truly get the best result for both of you. And like I said, it's hard with this lady. You said she's kind of more needs to have it on her side or she'll do some wacky stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel for him, but essentially, if we can't keep it civil, if we can't come to a reasonable solution, there's other, you know, resources for it. I would pray and hope that it doesn't go to that, it doesn't get that bad. But if necessary, if it is a bad example and if it is, harmful for the child, there's, legal action that can be taken. There's cases that can be made about,
Absolutely.
and typically, it will side with the parent doing the right thing. The court systems are
Yeah.
really in favor of the mother in a lot of senses, but there are, cases out there where the mother doesn't have the kid's best interest at heart, so the father can take over at that point. Not saying that I would want that for them, but I would hope that they can work out their problems. But these, like I said, this is an example of what happens when we don't take time to date intentionally and to really establish core foundations early on in the relationship. I'm going to preach a little bit about some preemptive things right now, and then we can get to some more attention and reactive things at that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
as
go
far
for it.
as
Go for it.
dating and you know interacting with these other people, we need to make sure that we know who we are too, first, because it is important to have taken the steps to go through our own pain and our own past and everything and try our best not to bring all this baggage into the relationship. Now you can't really get
Mm,
away from it. It's always going to affect you, but you can decide how your past affects you positively or negatively. You know,
mm,
if we don't really address the problems, if we kind of just let things slide. And that's the thing I'm talking about when you're just going through life and you're not being intentional about what you're doing and just letting time pass and years pass. You're only delaying the inevitable, and you're even worse. You're rolling the dice with your life, and you could end up with real responsibilities that will change your ability to map out your life.
mm,
Exactly the way
mm.
you would want anyway. Um, but when those responsibilities are thrust upon you, things do change, and I think you have a change of heart, a change of mindset. So it's not seen as a negative, but just in the sense of like you right now trying to plan out your life, it's important to date intentionally and be aware of these mistakes and not give your body to someone that you wouldn't be willing to have a kid with and start a family with. Not just
Mm.
that. Biblically, it tells us to wait until marriage. So when we can wait until that foundation is there and that core is so strong, that will help us alleviate the broken homes and alleviate the you know uh, just the bad family atmospheres that develop kids that have harmful views on society and bad worldviews and
Mm.
everything like that. It all kind of ties together, you know.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Um, so yeah, just to reiterate, and it shouldn't take long either. I talked about this week on Twitter, but you don't have to wait 6 months, a year, multiple years before you kind of know if you're going to be with this person in the long term or not. It can be decided within the first month or so.
Mm.
Typically after the first date, if you don't want to see that person again, like if you don't have this fiery urge to really be with that person more than anything, it's not worth your time to pursue. Unless you're there
I
for
agree.
nefarious means, unless you're just there for hookup culture and you're just doing, what animals do. If you want to degrade yourself to that level, by all means do it, but understand you're running the risk of continuing generational curses and continuing, bad parenting styles. Because you're rolling the dice with these people that you don't share core foundations with, you don't have the same wants in life, and those things come up later on, and now there's a kid involved, and now what do you do? You know, that's
Mm.
kind of a situation we see here. But yeah, so you don't need to wait all that long to know that this person is someone you'd want to stay with. You're just kind of wasting your own time and energy, and theirs as well. You know, so it's important to be upfront and be direct and like kind of talk like, okay, general like goals in life and your core values and everything. And the core values is a big one because these are the foundation of your relationship. They will come up constantly, and it's
Right.
important not to have someone that is a yes man that will just agree with everything you say, but to have challenge, but not to the point where it will cause division. You know. Um, so and we've talked about this before with I think the in defense of the unborn episode, but if if she's upset that she won't be able to kill your child, she's probably not the one. You know.
Oh, man, brother.
So it's important to like look at things like that. Where do you stand on those issues and other things of that nature that are important, that do matter. And if you guys can come to terms or at least have a discussion about other things that aren't as severe, that's important as well, right?
Mhm.
Just specifically religiously, building a Christian foundation. And with our marriage counseling and everything, we found, oh, the divorce rate's so bad and everyone's so scared of it. But those are with non-intentional, like foundational homes, and it turns out, like, when you look at the statistics of Christians that are getting married and that do it the right way and that have a strong foundation and trust with the Bible and do things that way, their rates are in the 90s of, like, in 90
Correct.
percentile of staying together
Correct.
and fostering a good family. So it's
Correct.
important to have that strong worldview and understand why you believe it and live it, live it thoroughly. Um, but like I said, the foundation can be built with intentional dating. And a good, like, first date idea that I sometimes talk about is not to just go to the movies, right? You want to go somewhere that you're actually going to have to interact with the person, not just be distracted and then, enjoy their
Exactly.
presence on the 5-minute car ride. But I would suggest, like, a first date scenario, maybe like you go to a restaurant, but have it be like a long car drive, just you two,
Mhm.
like maybe like an
Mhm.
hour's trip or so to get to a fancy restaurant or whatever it is. But do a long car drive and see, like, how do you interact with this person? Can you guys talk? Can you
Mhm.
entertain each other? Can you talk about other things that are more than just small talk? That's how you should be able to stand a road trip with this person. And if you can't, then it kind of removes the veneer of, like, oh, she's just super pretty, or whatever, right? Or
I
maybe
like
the
that. I
the
like
other way
that.
around, like maybe he just doesn't have any foundation, he's just a dumb whatever, right? So yeah, it's important to be able to conversate, and that's kind of what I always kind of suggest as like a first date. But yeah, building these foundations is important. When we get to the point, like you said, with the results of not dating intentionally, we find surprises about these people, right? And that's the risk you run. We don't know someone truly until we get to these spots when you don't take the time to thoroughly vet these questions and, like, put yourself out there honestly. You shouldn't have to hide anything either. If you feel like you're hiding something, or if you're constantly feeling like you have to hide your phone or whatever from the relationship, that relationship ain't gonna last. There shouldn't be secrets like that. Like, there's no reason to be hiding things like that. So if you feel like there's something that you can't trust this person, then that's, trust is to quote White Chicks, you can't have love if you ain't got trust. So that is also huge. And yeah, so I would just hope that most other people wouldn't have this thing where there's, like, physical damage to property being done in a disagreement, right? That's not
Yeah.
obviously not ideal. Um,
Yeah.
like I said, I wish and hope for them the best. And I think, for the most part, most people can sit down, you can work out their issues and talk about things. And I think I would hope that if he, tells her and talks to her earnestly and proves that he's trying to do the right thing and be there and everything, she should be able to see that. And they should really just talk about um, what they would want out of the relationship, out of being parents, what they want for the kid. And for the most part, it's what's best for the kid. And when you analyze that statement, what's best for the kid is not to see mom and dad fighting all the time. It's not to see, destruction of property going on. You need to set an example, and we lead by example in the home, regardless of if we want to or not. They people always pick up on what we're doing and our mannerisms. So,
Yeah. Well said. I like that. I like that.
um,
Especially for the benefit of the child. You're absolutely right. Your son or daughter is going to be watching how mom and dad interacts, not only in the good times, but also when there's a disagreement. And the way mom and dad responds is going to be either, you know, it's going to be teaching your son or daughter what type of behavior they should be able to accept. And imagine dad pushing mom. It's like, well, little girl will say, okay, well then that's how a relationship is. Mom and dad pushes each other, so I'll allow a guy to push me,
yeah,
because that's what So yeah, we don't want to have that right message. So I love that you focused on that as well.
that's the thing. Like, you are your relationship with your spouse is the prime example of love for that household. They look to you
Absolutely.
for, like, how someone should love somebody. And I want
Mhm.
to make this clear too, because I say a lot of times, you look at the moral cultural decline in America, or the society's problems, a lot of things are going on, and it can all stem from, like, broken homes. And I've said it before, but it all leads back to that, right? You point to any problem in America or wherever else, and I can lead you to, like, the result of a broken home, you know, and that really comes to play in these certain scenarios like the example of a love in the home, or how to be treated, and self-confidence and self-love, which is at an all-time low, in kids and in individuals. That's built in a home, in a loving, intentional parenting home. And I want to make this clear too, that broken homes isn't just talking about like divorced homes or separated homes, but a broken home can be a home with two parents that just hate each other, that don't love each other, that
Right.
don't interact and abuse each other or the kids,
Glad you addressed that. I'm glad you addressed that because that's a reality for some people as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I challenge us to be intentional, peaceful parents, and nurture a house of love and trust. And if you feel like you have to go to some extremes to prove a point or to get your kids to listen to you, I encourage you that that's not the way. And there are other ways to discipline your children and other ways to build that trust and loving relationship. And when we, again, it's all preemptive if we can get it. So when we take the time to look at these problems and find other ways to address them that aren't emotional reactions but intentional responses,
Mm.
to these
Mm.
events, we can intentionally parent and we can intentionally build the lives we want and the home we want, the home environment we want that will be successful and give the kid the best shot, going out on their own. Because when we're just going through life, like I said, not prioritizing and just what happens happens and we're dealing with it as it comes, we are susceptible to just going to what's familiar, going to what's known.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm, like I said, we might disagree on this, but I was, or not me personally, but people can say
Mm.
I was hit as a kid. I turned out fine.
Oh,
That's
oh
okay.
yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
um, that is stemmed from, and that we can go back to that, and then it's okay for me to hit my kid, right? Because they'll turn out fine.
Mhm.
And what
Mhm.
happens is if there's an emotional reaction, kids throwing a temper tantrum in a store, or whatever have you, we will emotionally react out of fear of public opinion instead of what is best
Mm.
for the child in that moment, or in
Mm.
general,
Mm.
right? And we'll
Mm.
just resort to what happened to us as kids because it wasn't that bad because I'm fine now.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I really
That's a
think,
good point.
we're not fine now. It's clear with the way society and the culture is going where there are a lot of problems that need to be addressed and a lot of lack of intentional parenting that is happening. We're thinking we'll just take these situations as they come and that's okay, that's enough. And I'm telling you, it's not. You know, we need to
Mm.
think about these things ahead of time and have a plan and like I said, instead of emotionally reacting to the event, intentionally respond with what is best for the kid, what is going to teach them the lesson, what is going to teach them right from wrong, not just don't do that because I said so, because I'm going to hit you if you do it again. You know,
Mm. Mm.
when you start to parent peacefully and go from an aspect of love and trust instead of, fear and submission, that's when we build stronger, more confident humans.
Mm.
So these all everything kind of connects in this sense where we need to it's important to prioritize your life, what is important to you, and take steps to achieve those things. And I've said it before, where like not everyone's gonna do that. Everyone's kind of conditioned to just be, just follow the news, follow the media, listen to what they're saying, and just be mad
Oh
at what
yeah.
they're mad at, not really care about the real
Yeah.
problems or what you can control or what's happening in your life. I'm fine, I'll go to my 9 to 5 or whatever, and I'll just get. It's complacency, and a lot of people are
Mm.
fine with that, and that's to each their own. But I challenge us to want more out of life and to actually realize that we can attain it. Whether you think you
Mm.
can or you think you can't, you're right. So
Correct. Correct. I love that quote.
yeah, it's
So
it's a
true.
great one. So I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it is possible to break these generational curses. It is possible to give your kids the best opportunities and outlook on life. But that's more than just your checkbook. It's more than financial. It's important to establish right and wrong and to teach them these lessons without using domineering and fear mongering. Don't be a tyrant in the home
Mm.
because then that child will grow up used to a tyrant like authority and will subject to one in their own lives later on. When you're not there.
Right. It's true.
Um, but about dating. No, it's seriously though. It is important to date intentionally, and when you're taking that step of finding the right person, yeah, I don't think it takes super long if you can tell right away, like, okay, this isn't someone I'd want to grow old with, have a family with, start a family with. We have way different views, and especially if you don't have that spark to be with that person all the time, like, yeah, move on,
Yeah,
next.
exactly, exactly. I
And
like that.
what's important
So,
too is like, yes, we all want love, we all need that connection, but I implore us to focus on ourselves as well. If you're out here searching for someone, that's okay, but in the sense, I'd prefer if we were to just like, what is your house in order? Are you prepared to be that person for someone else, like their best life partner? You know, and if not,
mm,
how can we become that person? Focus on building yourself up first, and the right person will come along. They will be attracted to that energy. You know,
mm.
um, that's what I would say.
Nice, nice. Very well said, sir.
So, is there any more information you can give us about the scenario, or is it just like,
Uh, I mean, well, one of the biggest scenarios that bits of information I'm aware of is that this young lady that he's dealing with, uh, it turns out that her mother, of course, has maybe, she was in I don't know if she was married, but I know that her relationship, obviously, with this, uh, the father of, this lady didn't work out. So, but what's interesting is she lives with her mother as well, which is the grandmother, and she has, to my understanding, um, five different children. Grandmother had five different children with five different men in her lifetime. So it's almost like this. It almost seems like it's just a cycle that's happening, kind of like what you were already addressing, actually. It's almost like the family, the grandmother has these five children, and she's, from five different men, and then the mother, um, she has two daughters, but I believe it's with the same guy, but she's not with the guy. And now this girl is dealing with the guy that I know, and yeah, it's almost like
it's a
so yeah,
vicious cycle?
yeah, you actually addressed it. Yeah, it's actually playing itself out. It's playing
And
itself out.
we can't like, and that's something I want to make clear too. Just don't, because I got a lot of preemptive knowledge, because that's my stage of my life right now as well. But don't feel like all is lost because you're stuck in the middle of it, or because things look like they're crumbling, or you're already divorced or anything. I want to make this clear. There is no excuse to not be an intentional, loving parent to your kids. No excuse.
Mm,
No matter your circumstances, no matter what it is, there's no reason to not be a part of that kid's life and to not teach them the best to your ability, right? I
mm,
tweeted out
mm,
about this today, but I don't care if you're not the role model they need. I don't care if you're not, you're not married or you don't have a loving relationship to show them. Your kids need you in their lives, period. You
yeah.
know, and if you are not the
Yes.
role model they need, become that person. You know,
Amen.
like that's what I talk about by prioritizing like what's important to you. And here's the thing, a lot of people won't. A lot of people can't get their head around the fact that like these problems are stemming from like broken homes, and how can I fix that in my own home and the kids I have. People don't realize that that's where we fix these problems of society, so they don't see it as intent. They wouldn't put the time to intentionally do that, right? We're inherently
Mm,
selfish, we have ego, we fall into power trip, and we really inherently would put ourselves first above a lot of people. So in that worldview, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, the kids, whatever, it didn't work out great. I'm just gonna do my best, and I'll do. I'm focusing on me and doing my own thing, right?
mm, mm,
Almost, it's like it's a lost cause. I'm just the part-time dad or whatever. I'm just the part-time parent. But no, I challenge us to be better than that, because it does matter, right? And you're gonna have to roll with the punches, because it's not easy to establish a loving, trusting relationship if you spent years hitting them, or spent years like just being a fear factor, or even whatever else. It doesn't even have to be hitting, but you spent years like not being a part of their lives and not being an intentional parent. So you're gonna get a year or two of like transitional period, right, where they're not gonna believe what you're saying, because you haven't
yeah.
established trust and love and everything. But it's important for us to come to them and talk to these kids on their level, and treat them as
Mm,
humans that can understand things, because they're a lot smarter than we give them credit, and they can understand situations better. They come with
mm,
us with questions, and we should have answers as to like, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, this is why. you know. Or
Mm,
if we don't know
mm.
everything, it's okay to admit that too. You know, we're human, we make mistakes. It's important to
Very true.
fess up
Very
to your mistakes. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I treated you like this. Um, Dad's gonna try and do better. You know, Dad's gonna look, but that's the problem. You have to actually mean that. You know,
true.
you have to put in the work and actually mean that and show results of you trying to do better, us all trying to heal. So don't think just because, you didn't do it right in the first place, you can't fix it today. The best time to fix your family was yesterday. The second best time is today, right? Um,
Mm,
so yeah, that's what that's whole thing is about. Like, there's no excuse not to be an intentional parent. Especially if they're grown up and everything. Just tell your kids you love them, that you're proud of them. Tell your parents too. Forgive your parents. Talk to them, build that relationship. It's important, but it's also important to not to acknowledge what was wrong. You don't have to say that they did their best if they truly didn't. That's okay to
mm,
acknowledge what was wrong. That's how we can grow and not repeat the same mistakes. But
mm.
it's important to forgive and let go and just um, you know take control of your life. Don't let these other factors tear at your ability to interact with your world and your kids.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, that's where I would go with that.
Nice,
So I,
nice.
I hope it works out for him and everything, and
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely keep you updated, actually. It's always a lot of transitioning in this relationship happening, back and forth. But yeah, actually, the last update I received was actually maybe an hour or so ago. It was actually on a positive note. I think she was reaching out to him and just kind of reminding him, like, she sees that he's been trying, even though
yeah.
she's So I'll see how that is, but
Well, that's
it
good.
was kind of nice to hear that.
That's the point. If you're earnest, people can see that we're human. We can recognize
Hmm.
genuine. So if we
Hmm.
can foster that healthy lifestyle and show that we're trying, I think that can go a long way as far as building,
Hmm.
trust and a foundation.
Absolutely, very
Okay, so
important.
and kind of, yeah, so that's kind of where it all lands on that whole subject with just analyzing like a lot of the problems today come from those broken homes, and that's how we fix them by taking control of our lives and being better parents, better husbands, better wives, better parents and families, and then we can help others from community. And I talked about it at the beginning where I'm writing this thing about growing from your pain. That newsletter that's
Mm,
going to drop June 1st, and it's really essentially what we should be doing is not being afraid to go to that place, that dark place that there's a lot of pain there, right? If we don't address it, if we don't acknowledge it, it's just going to repeat. It's like a scar that will keep opening, rather than like a
mm,
teaching moment. And when we do learn from the pain, what is great is we can share that message with others, you know? And when we do that, we let others learn the same lessons without the pain. And that's how we can kind of start to fix these problems that we see. It starts with us. It starts with acknowledging it and fixing it and trying to be better.
mm, mm. I feel that. What?
All right, so little transition. Yeah, we can go into some religion because I did have a question for you with a lot of things going on the way things are nowadays, and this question has been around for like forever. People
Mhm.
always ask this question, and I think it's very deep and philosophical. I would ask you, James, why does God allow bad things to happen?
Mm, yeah, that's a very serious question there.
Right? Yeah. Here's the thing. I've heard some people bring it up, and it's always hard to think about, hard to justify with our own morality and our own view on everything. You know.
Mhm.
But I thought it'd be cool, like, to address in a little segment here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had people, especially atheists. I'm going to say use that as like, oh, okay, well, God is loving and caring, and then why is children getting kidnapped, and why is this happening, and why is this person going through this, and it's interesting because I battled the same issue as well. initially. I thought, um, I didn't grow up in a rich home, therefore God doesn't love me that much. I just thought, like I want to be in Beverly Hills. I want to have a nice, lifestyle
why
and stuff
why
like
does
that. But
Santa
yeah,
hate poor kids, James?
you're right, right? Yeah. No, honestly, I've when we look at the garden interaction with Adam and Eve, it's interesting because God being all knowing, you would think God would, after warning Adam and Eve of the consequences that they would surely die if they were eat from a certain tree in the garden, you would think, okay, God is aware of the consequences that He's going to, pour out on them. So why even make that even available? Why even, there is some type of aspect of, I'm going to call it free will. Um, Even though there's a lot of when it comes to Reformed theology, there's a lot of challenges with explaining this properly in context for people. But the idea of providing free will to human beings, it's a way God demonstrates that. I'll put it this way: you can't love someone if you're forcing them to love you. You can't
Yeah.
love someone. Yeah, you can't. That can't happen. It has to be genuine. It has to be something that is um, something that a person moves towards when it
On
comes
their
to
own.
yeah. And even when we look at the aspects, all the different attributes of love in First Corinthians, you know, uh, 13, considered the love chapter, we see they're all the attributes are actually verbs. They're all action words. They're action words. They're moving towards somebody. They're moving towards someone. So, um, but unfortunately, with this freedom that we've all been given, we do have the ability to build a lot of the things that you were talking about stepping up, fathers and things like that. We have the option to build, to pour into our families, to serve our wives, to honor our countries, to serve our communities. We can do that, but we also unfortunately have the freedom to destroy
Yeah.
families, destroy communities, destroy lives. And yeah, could God stop the heart of somebody just when they were about to commit some type of atrocity? Absolutely. God can get rid of all the bad people. He can get rid of them, like that. The issue is, according to the Bible, we're all bad,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
all of us.
fallen world, and
Correct, correct. And the Book of Romans specifically says, no one is good, no, not one. Not one person is good, not one.
yeah,
So if God could get rid of all the bad people, this earth would not have anyone uh,
left.
walking around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all, not at all. But yeah, but I know that the only way to love is God would have to actually offer us give us the opportunity uh, to do something like that, to move towards Him. Yeah, but He can stop people, but that would violate the will that God has provided for us as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it would be robots at that point.
I would agree. The love is more genuine when we choose to come to Him itself ourselves, right? Because yeah, all knowing, all powerful God can just make a bunch of servants and make a bunch of people that love Him
Absolutely,
inherently,
absolutely.
right?
Robots and Mhm.
Yeah, but the love is stronger when we choose it, right? And we, like I said, we chose the antithesis of God. We chose that knowledge that we would gain from that, and trying to be. It's again our ego and our selfishness. We had paradise and we chose against it. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and so parts are also because of that, that's where all these kind of problems would stem from. People aren't perfect. There's always going to be evil in the world. There's always going to be evil people,
always,
right?
always,
Um,
always.
what I would say is, as far as God directly intervening or God stopping these people before it happened, right? We don't. That's like thought police. Like we don't criminalize people before crimes happen. It's always after, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
that's part of God's loving mercy too. Is when He can't just like kill or a baby or whatever because they're going to do something terrible in the future. God lets us live out our whole lives until death, so that we have chances to repent and believe in Him and trust in Jesus Christ and have opportunity of forgiveness, through him. Um, if in that sense, that's kind of what I read today in my
Hmm.
section of the Bible that I was going through. That's kind of why I bring it up too, But yeah, so he's not judging before actions happen, If that happens, like I said, because of original sin, because of all the things we've done, we're all liars, we're all thieves, we're all adulterers of the heart, and some of us real adulterers and everything. If he just decided to kill, like you said, kill us now, there'd be no one left, So it's
Correct.
about giving the time and the free will to repent, turn to Christ, have a change of heart, have God work through you, to know Him, to love Him, and that's how we can kind
Mm.
of allow, true repentance and forgiveness for these things.
Yeah, what's always been fascinating to me, Tim, and something that I've been learning more as I've been growing in my faith is that I used to think that if we had a human being, let's say for example, let's say they were very successful in the world standards and they started to actually give to the poor, they built a ministry or a community, or they became a life coach or all these things, and they started pouring into the world, and then I don't know, they die from a heart attack at a young age or something like that. In my head, I used to think, oh man, their life stopped, therefore their legacy is over now, and that's it. And I started to learn that, even when tragedies are happening in the world, and I know I'm not sure we're going to address it, but we had a recent tragedy this past week. Um, it's sometimes it's very difficult to really try to look around and say, okay, what possibly can happen in a positive way with something crazy like these
Yeah,
different events, or
everything that happened in
and
Texas. Yeah.
yeah. But there's two different verses that and one of them I'll share with you, and you've gone through a lot of the Old Testament at this point, so you're familiar with this, and this is in the book of Genesis. But Joseph, he was favored by
Yeah,
his
that's
father.
where I was gonna go with it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just so fascinating how he became the favorite, and his brothers were jealous of him, and they beat him, and they sold him into slavery, and he ended up being a slave, and he ended up going to jail, and all these things for X amount of time, and then he became the second most powerful person in the world, because at the time the Egyptian Empire was the ruler, and other than the Pharaoh, it was the governor, it was him. And it's so interesting how when he was confronted by his brothers, finally he revealed himself to them, and they're like surprised because they forgot about him. But he just let them know that what you intended for evil, God intended for good.
Yeah.
Genesis 50:20. Genesis 50:20. And it's amazing how these things can happen, and God can still use His divine power and authority to change. And I don't know, that person that I don't know, may have passed away from a heart attack, that was doing all these things. Maybe their children, maybe communities of people were inspired by them. And now you have 100 people stepping up and filling in for what they were doing. And now, yes,
Well,
it's amazing. It's
that's the
amazing.
thing. You made the perfect point. With that story of Joseph is perfectly
Hmm.
represents it. That verse and everything, where what you
Hmm.
intended for evil, God intended for good, and God's
Hmm.
will over all of time. Right? He knows all of it. He has perfect knowledge over everything, and so it's in His divine will or not to do something that something happens. So
Hmm.
we can't understand with our feeble, human knowledge about existence and reality. We can't fathom, the grand design, the grand plan, But
Hmm.
there is evidence in everything in the sense of like it is for a higher purpose,
Hmm.
And what seems like tragedy, and that's the thing too. Where we talk about growing from pain, right? Pain
Yeah.
doesn't have to be something that is solely negative. There's a lot of positive
Hmm.
outlooks that can come from it. It can
So
inspire
true.
others to do better and to fix things, Um, and so we just have to trust in God's wisdom and His plan that it is all for a reason, and these things happen for that reason,
Hmm. There's a there's I alluded to, there was another verse, and pretty much both of these verses are sharing the same concept, but One is in the Old Testament, one is in the New. And so I quoted the Old Testament version. That's Genesis 50:20, and Joseph responds to his brothers, "What you intended for evil, God intended for good." But the New Testament version of that is actually found in Romans 3:28, and it says, "And we know that all things work together." Uh, and it says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." So we all know that regardless of what's happening, and even in tragic moments, those that are loved by God, who love God and called according to His purpose, things are going to work out for them. Things are going to work out for them.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think it's
regard.
important not to dilute that message either as like prosperity gospel. That just because we're Christians, things are going to work out. That's not the case. That's not what we're trying to say or what we're trying to preach. It's not, that's not how it works, right? God, and I'm reading Job right now, and I feel like he said it in Job, but it's somewhere it says where God doesn't. Okay, yeah, it is in Job, and he says, "So you take the blessings of God, but should you not take the
Correct, correct, correct. Yeah,
I forget the
no,
exact verse, but you know what I'm trying to say."
yeah, 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 yeah. The concept is, how can we accept the blessings from God, but when God is making things difficult or is allowing things to be difficult, how can we reject that?
Yeah, how is
It's
that not?
God.
Yeah.
We are to get both. We
Hmm.
are to receive both.
Yeah,
You know,
and
and
love
it's
him
interesting that Job
regardless.
yeah, yeah. And what I love is Job seemed to really understand this. I'm not sure how far you are.
So I
Um,
know generally the end of it. I think where he like has even more numerous prospering people and a new
okay,
family and
that's a very yeah,
a
yeah.
new house.
But
But
yeah,
so what's interesting is like I thought the story of Job would be like more stretched out, but it has all the like like really important stuff that like at the front. Right? There's the deal that's
yes,
made and all the pain and everything happens immediately. And then most of
yeah.
it like I'm on
Just
eight like
dialogue, right?
yeah, it's just his three best friends coming to
Dialogue.
talk to him, and they're just philosophizing about God and pain and why they're all calling him out on being like a simp and like being or just laying there like a pathetic wimp, and they're like, and he's lamenting about his pain for a long time, and then he's kind of coming to the realization now. I'm on chapter like 29, where he's kind of like, no, it is to love him regardless. Like, who are we to judge and or to make those calls? Um, like I said, first time going through all of it, so I'm not as good as quoting it directly as you are.
Okay, okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
like it's a really powerful story, and it's one of the ones I was looking
really
forward
is.
to.
Yeah, I don't know what chapter you're on, but
Like
are you
29,
have
I just
got
finished 29.
you said 29? Okay, okay, all right. Yeah, my favorite aspect, and I don't want to give too much away because it's a beautiful story, but yeah, God actually responds to him, I believe, in chapter 37, 38. God
Okay,
actually responds
yeah,
and
yeah, that'll be
made
cool.
amazing.
That'll be cool
Yeah.
when I get there.
Uh, oh yeah.
Um, I had another point about this whole topic where God lets bad things happen, or
Hmm.
that's what they say. They're trying to like judge the morality of him. Oh yeah, okay. So people, and I've seen a lot of atheist versus Christian debates more recently, right? I listen to a lot of stuff while I work out or do whatever else, and so
Oh,
I've
okay.
really like delved into these apologetic conversations, and
Yeah.
a lot of it people like there was this one guy that was like just asking like show me proof. He brought like antifreeze to the debate, and at the end of it he's like, all of you guys who believe in it, like prove
Oh,
it,
I
right?
know
Like
exactly.
yeah,
That's with Jeff Durbin, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, James White, I believe.
I don't remember
Okay.
exactly, but yeah, and it was wild. He's asking for
Yeah.
direct, intervention and miracles, and the entire time I wanted to say, because I realized this early on, I had the same question: why don't we see miracles today? Why don't why doesn't God just use that power? And I haven't got to the New Testament. I haven't got to all that other stuff, so I'm not sure if there's anything that addresses it there. But what I got
Mm.
from reading the Old Testament was the whole book essentially is about people being exposed to the rawness and pureness of God's power and God's greatness and these miracles firsthand, and still constantly just rejecting him and going to other gods and not trusting in him. It really is a testament to God's patience more than anything. People point out, oh, he's a wrathful God, he's unjust, he does all these terrible things. How it like that's not a good God, or if God made me and made me so that I didn't know him and I would fall, like that's a bad God in general, right? We're trying to put our view of morality on him, which is objective and, shows us the standard. And so we can't hope to know, right from wrong.
Hmm.
But in those cases, people are mistaken because, like I said, it's about that whole testament is about, his patience. He continuously, tirelessly gives the Israelites and everyone else in his charge chances to repent and chances to come back to him, and he's constantly uh, looking at prophets and promising them and their line, lineage, and he lives up to his promises, um, and but he's constantly tested, and it shows him being wrathful sometimes. And it was Moses asking him. The Israelites were in the desert for 40 years, and they were upset about the food they had to eat, the manna from heaven that they were eating, and he was like, look, can we just get something else for them, right? And God said at first, like, I forget exactly what it was, but it was about an outstretched arm, and he's like, is my arm not still like long
Yeah,
enough?
yeah,
Or it's like, I can't remember the phrasing, but he's essentially saying, did I not bring you out of Egypt? Did I not like do all this? Is my power now limited? And he said, no, you will have more meat than you can chew. You will have meat coming out of your nose or something, right? He
yeah.
and he actually has a bunch of I think birds fly
So
over, and they have meat for like however long, um
every time that it's like there, I think, right?
what happened?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it every morning
Yeah.
they had food but I think he asked them not to to store too much.
Yes, so he said he basically, again, he would provide it, but then people were hoarding it, people were eating it without cooking it, and then it's like, okay, y'all are diseased, leave. like then now you're some of you are like just dead now because you again, take it on with your own and you're selfish and do all these things instead of trusting the Lord. Um but yeah, so
Wild.
it's not it's in the sense of like he shows those miracles, he's done those things, and who's to say there aren't miracles now today. There are things people can point to of like divine, not divine, but like not a ray of light healing people, but there are incredible miraculous healings that happen, no one can
Okay.
explain. I have some of those in my own personal life that I've seen, and there's too many what I like to think of like as coincidences. People will call them coincidences, too many examples in people's lives of the perfect timing or something happening at just the right moment or something happening because of something happening at the right moment. You know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking about these things, for it to be not, divine intention,
Hmm.
you know. So with all of that, yeah, especially today with how the culture is and how we are today, there's no miracle that could happen, I assure you, that would convince everybody. There's nothing that could be done that would convince everyone and have them believe, Um, there's thousands of years of testament and knowledge that impart on that and why that isn't true.
It's all true. It's true. Yeah, yeah. It addresses this more than once that when it comes to miracles, that's not going to be the defining moment that's going to change a person's life. And make them believe in God. It's just our nature. We just don't. We're not convinced of those type of things. We could see the sea being parted. We could see all sorts of things, but we'll always forget. We'll always forget and say, oh, okay, well that was in the past, and you know,
Yeah, and
it's
just
unfortunate. Our nature. It's our nature.
yeah, and like despite there being like a flood story in like every single historical like religion or historical doctrine.
Every culture, everyone, absolutely, worldwide flood.
Yeah.
Correct.
Um,
Hmm.
but no, whatever else. like so okay, so before we like wrap it up, like why does God allow bad things? Any other insights? What would you say to someone like saying that in light of everything that's happening, like, someone that might not believe in God because of that?
Well, yeah. What I do know is that I don't know. Let's say I had a spouse or a child. If I held their hand the entire time, or locked them to my hand or my arm, I can make sure because I'm stronger than them. I can make sure they don't do anything that I don't want them to do. I can make sure, you know. Um, but it would be trust and it would be faith that for me to unhook them and say, okay, well, you're your own person, and I know you're going to make mistakes, but I'll help you and I'll assist you from afar when I can, but I'm going to let you have your freedom so you can explore, so you can learn, so you can,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I'm strong enough to hold on to my spouse or my child and make sure they don't do anything ever again. I could do that, but then I would be, I would be really preventing them from being able to live and explore and even learn how loving I can be from, and offering them mercy and things like that when they mess up. And instead of me lecturing them and abusing them, it's like, well, hey, let me help you pick up the pieces. Let me help you. This is how you do it. And so yeah, I think it's just important that God is a father. God is a father. You
Yeah,
know.
and that's not one of my favorite verses, Deuteronomy 1, chapter 1, verse 31. And he's
Mm.
talking about bringing the Israelites to throughout Egypt, and he's like, it's essentially as I have brought you out of the wilderness, as a father carries his son. I have carried you out of the wilderness, to
Yeah,
this place. And
yeah,
God, that's perfectly says it because God is the ultimate example of a father. He's the ultimate standard as a father.
absolutely, absolutely.
And so
Very
that
well said.
I love that verse so much. As I have carried you out of the wilderness as a father carries his son. Uh, great
Yeah,
verse. And
he's
yeah,
still
so
carrying.
yeah, yeah. And again, it's all about the patience and the forgiveness and us coming to know him on our own terms, and then him like changing the heart. Um,
Hmm.
so that's a beautiful process.
Oh, absolutely. The new birth, man. We don't deserve that.
All right, we're about like an hour in. We can do some little entertainment action. We did have a little bit
Ah,
planned.
ah. You said what? Did I have what?
Yes. As far as entertainment, we had a little section planned for all you superhero junkies out there like us. We thought we could break down a little versus action. So and so okay, the two people that are up in this fight, we've decided would be Batman and would be
Okay.
Captain America.
There we go. There we go.
So before we start, what do these characters mean to you? You're wearing an America shirt, so I assume I know what side you're on.
Yeah, honestly, man, both of these characters are, if you were to ask me out of the DC and out of the Marvel universe, if you said choose five of your favorite or even three of your favorite, for the Marvel, Captain America would be one of my favorites, and on DC, Batman would actually be one of them. So they're on my top list. Like they're
Yeah.
characters that I they truly respect. I love their mythologies. I love how they're written. I love that Captain America has this integrity of of I almost want to say that the concept of what America originally stood for. I feel like you know he stood for that. He stood for that, and it was really something that I appreciated. I'm not entirely sure if that's being maintained for more in the modern story, but I love what he stands for. And there's just something amazing on it. Like even just seeing him in Civil War, um, not the comic book series, but well, yeah, but even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, seeing how um, Iron Man and the rest of the other Avengers on the opposing side, they all knew that he may not be some super powered, as the other Avengers, but he was dangerous because once he was determined, once he put his mind to it, that was
You
it.
couldn't change his mind. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I really appreciated that about him. And of course, we all know how committed Batman is. He's just, once, for every story, just about every story, if he puts his mind to something, he doesn't let go until he's done. You know, he's just always been thorough. He's the scientist. He's the escape artist. He's the detective. He's the martial artist. He's
Yeah.
everything. He's everything. Um, so the idea of them fighting, that's a ooh.
Well, it's a conflict. Like I feel like it's like the captain of the football team and like the broody like nerd that no one talks to, that eats lunch alone, but they're both jacked. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And then they're both like, they would ideally analyze one another because I know Batman. You knock him off a few times, he'll already know your strategy at that point. Now he'll understand. Okay, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And maybe, yeah, he may not even let you touch it. But yeah, Captain America, he's also, yeah, this is a hard one. I just know that because Captain America has this super soldier serum, that would be his thing right there because I know he can run for miles without getting tired. So that's yeah,
That's
that's
kind of
it
where
for
the line can be drawn, and we might end up on that conclusion. We can break it down more, but essentially,
yeah,
Captain America is, he's on the super soldier serum, which is like superhero steroids, right? It lets him uh, be larger than life and do more than a regular human could. Just straight up, like with his energy, his metabolism, his jumps, his leaps, and his
yeah,
power. Whereas Batman is just like the peak of physical human fitness, right? Without
yeah,
going into like science fiction, like super drugs or whatever. He is
yeah,
just like the peak of a
yeah.
human ability, right? And ingenuity and craftiness and everything, right?
Now I will say this, and I'll just put this out there. I do think the environment would definitely have a lot to do with who would have the advantage because if it's like the octagon, obviously I would say Captain America.
Really?
Yeah, just straight up. But yeah, if it's nighttime, it's in Gotham or it's in the sewers. Well, yeah, I would think Batman would definitely, you know,
Well, here's the thing: like, a Batman fights Bane all the time, and he's like a super roided out, like giant freak, and just because and he's able to take him martial artist style. He's
Yep,
able to work his way
that's true.
around it. Um, I
That
don't
is,
want to. I want to make it clear. I am not advocating for Batman. I'm just bringing up a point. I do not think, that broody teenager would do anything but get his back broken versus anybody that isn't a common thug. That is my stance forever. Whenever someone brings up Batman in a conversation.
oh my gosh.
And I did bring up Bane because eventually he does come back and he is able to deal with him. But first meeting, you know,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because you're probably familiar with this, but there's a show that came out I don't know how many years how many years ago that called The Batman. And it was just the cartoon series, and it was like I don't
yeah,
know, it could have been 7, 8 seasons, I'm not sure, but it seemed like just about every episode started out with Batman learning about a new villain, whether it was Mr. Freeze or it was Penguin, and they always caught him off guard because they brought something new to the table.
yeah,
You know? And they always caught him off guard, and they always, kind of toppled him in some way, and then they kind of let the scene, they ended up getting the money or getting the whatever, and it just seemed like a lot of the times because he was kind of starting out, he would make mistakes. But what would happen was throughout the episode, he was learning, he was studying, and then by the end, he already knew their whole thing. So when they tried to do the thing again with the next encounter, it didn't work anymore.
yeah.
Now it's like he's already got it. Mr. Freeze is like now Batman comes with a extra layer of padding, so now he's not getting cold when he's fighting Mr.
Batman
Freeze
showed
now.
up in a parka and now he's fine.
Yeah, yeah, no, but it's always been very fascinating to me. And to be honest with you, um, he's always inspired me to some extent with just my day to day life. Like, there's this mythology of just like always being observant about things, not just falling for things. Every time you're going into a new environment, making sure you're watching everything to see what to expect. Where's the way out? How, if this happened, what would you do? And I don't know. It's always been something I always thought was very fascinating about his character is that he's. I think Amanda Waller of the Suicide Squad in the comic book, she even considers Batman a metahuman, like a mutant, because
Really?
she just, yeah, there's no way that a human being can do the things that he does. She just doesn't understand,
Yeah.
So she classifies him as a metahuman, and he doesn't have any powers technically.
Well, when you
But
don't sleep, you can get a lot done,
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah, yes. Supposedly he's optimized his body so he can get three 3 hours sleep, but feel like he's had
I didn't even
something like
know
that.
that. I just know he's always like Batman at night and then Bruce Wayne during the day. I didn't even know that part.
Yeah. That's his thing. That's the thing. So he can get 3 hours sleep and then feel like a full night's rest. But yeah, no, it's fascinating. But yeah, for me, I believe it has a lot to do with the environment. Because it's like I don't know. It's like even if you had 10 Captain Americas, like if you're in a dark alley and it's nighttime and Batman has all his gadgets, like that's gonna be a little tricky. In my opinion.
You
Because first
think
you got
Batman could take 10 Captain Americas if there was a dark alley? I'm sorry?
but, but you know what I'm saying? Because
Do
ideally he
I?
would he would
Do I know what
he,
you're saying?
well,
Please
well, look,
explain yourself.
he wouldn't. Like I said, it's not the octagon. Obviously, if you just say, "Hey, Batman, here you go, out in the wilderness, straight up with Captain America," no, he's not going to stand a chance. Absolutely not. He
Hmm.
might, go back and forth for a bit, but he's going to get tired. And Cap's not.
Well,
Cap's
that's
not going
true. Okay, when you break it down to straight endurance, that is true. And I don't know the specifics.
to. Environment is important. Environment. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure the specifics of Bane and his powers, if it just increases his strength, if it also increases his endurance where he can, you know, do those things for a longer period of time. Because if it is just an endurance game and they're going blow for blow, yeah, Cap should have the advantage, and his whole stick is like, I can do this all day, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There you go. That's what I'm saying. And it's the same thing with all right, because I don't know how much you know about Spawn.
I
Are
don't
you
I don't
familiar?
know much as much as I should.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he's undead guy. He doesn't feel a lot of pain. But they had Batman eventually over the years encounter Spawn, and I think they kind of wrote Image Comics allowed DC, and they kind of worked together to make a Batman Spawn comic. And initially they fought each other, but then they kind of worked with each other. But it was interesting because it seemed like because Spawn was in a more of a environment that accommodated Batman, it was harder for him to fight him. Even though Spawn is pretty strong and he has these supernatural abilities, it's hard. It's like it's a dark alley. Like Batman knows how to hide himself and shield himself. It's like he's beating you up, and then it's like he's disappearing. It's like, well, where is he? Where? And then there's the gas, and then he started using that, and so Spawn is Hackett throwing up because Batman's using this gas. So it's like it depends on the environment. It's the same thing with I don't know, Wolverine. If you have 10 soldiers out there, and I don't know, just like an open field, and they all have their guns, they can, they might give Wolverine a bit of a challenge. But if it's in the wilderness and he can hide and shield himself, yeah, he's gonna pick them off, real quick. It'll be real quick. It'll be real quick.
I don't know if 10 soldiers with guns could stop the Wolverine, but we'll add that to the list of James's wild takes. But uh, um,
You know what I'm saying? It's
environment
just
does have a play. You're right. I would say if we're looking at like the training and everything of both, right? Like Cap went through some wars and he has like that that
correct.
type of experience. I guess because you did bring up a good point about the gadgets, right? And that's something I loved about the new Batman movie is his use of like gadgets and inventive fighting styles versus just you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but because Batman does have some. I mean, I'm sorry, Captain America does have some sort of a utility belt on his character design, but I rarely see him use anything.
Oh, he has pockets. That's
He
right.
has little like
Yeah, he's never like used anything, right?
no, he has like the
That's
little
true.
Avengers card, but that's it.
Yeah, that's true. That's so funny. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I've watched the Batman comics and I've seen I've kept up with the comics, the movies, the especially the cartoons. DC does a very good job with presenting Batman in their movies, and it just seems like he's always ready for everything.
Yeah,
He's even if there's a super powered being, he just knows, okay, well, I can't physically go, so what's the next best thing? And so in his mind, he's calculating what's the next best, what do I
yeah.
need to do?
He beats essentially Darkseid because and Darkseid underestimates him, and everyone underestimates him because he's just a human. you know.
Yeah.
But
Correct.
he puts Darkseid in a scenario where he has to choose. I forget what the scenario is, but like one thing over another. He's gonna like blow up Apocalypse or whatever the planet is, and he's like, "But your friends are here. You'd risk your friends and everything." And he's like, "Yeah." you know, and Darkseid is like, "Well played, human," and then he like lets him go or something like that, right? But he always like creates that scenario where he's willing to,
Absolutely.
go all out. He's willing to do what needs to be done, I guess, to save humanity in those circumstances.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he's just one of the quotes that I actually committed myself to remembering that was in a Batman I think it was in a cartoon, and it's something he said in the comics, but he says something in the nature of expect the unexpected,
Hmm.
expect the unexpected, and it's a very simple quote, but it almost kind of like when you look at it from his angle, it's like, yes, yes, expect wild things to happen, and so it's almost like I don't know, he almost sets this standard where he's not surprised when something happens. He's not surprised,
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's like he
yeah, yeah,
feels like a big pessimist, and so like you said, you're just always expecting the worst, so you're never surprised when the worst happens,
yeah, something like that, something
right?
like that. In
But he
a way,
doesn't let
it's really,
himself love. He doesn't let himself do any like yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And that's
yes, it's,
you know
mm,
um, as far as like Captain, he's like kind of the antithesis of that, where he's the leader. He has all the like he's like morally right like almost all the time, and he's
and inspiration.
yeah, he's like but Batman is thrown to a leadership role in the Justice League, but it's like,
Oh yeah, in many ways, even his own private team with the Robins and the
well,
Nightwings
he's
and the
just making up
Batwoman.
for the family he never had. That's like he's just adopting kids and you know um but like, yeah, it's always like Superman and Batman in that like dichotomy. Superman's like really, he's
Yeah,
got all the power and he has all these, righteous virtues, and Batman's more like down to earth, broody, and I
yeah,
guess realistic in some senses, right? So they do balance each other well.
they
Um,
do, they do, they do.
and then same thing kind of with Cap and Iron Man, where it's like they're both none of them, they're neither of them are Superman, but one is super idealistic, and the other one is more just has different views on things, right?
Yeah, yeah, which I think really helps. A lot of the films that they were in, it really helped a lot, especially with Civil War. Like I really enjoyed their back and forth. I really enjoyed that a lot because I feel like in the Avenger films you've seen it, but in Civil War you've seen it a lot. You've
Yeah.
seen Tony emotional about a lot of what has happened and the sacrifices, and Captain America seemed like a different angle at it. I just really appreciated that. You know. It's the same thing with Batman and Superman a little bit. There are times when they disagree, and you see that exchange, and it's like, wow, that's real interesting to see, where they're coming from, their perspectives and their arguments.
Yeah. Well, what's weird is that like Captain America is pretty clear with his morals. He's like, we don't trade lives. No, one life is not equal for 1,000, whatever, unless I'm doing it to go into some ice. And he's like,
Sac- Get sacrificed, but yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No one, he's not
And
having it.
team
That's not.
leader, and when the whole world tells you to move, it's your job to stand, plant yourself by the river of truth, and to say no, you move, right?
America.
Yeah, so he's kind of known of where he stands on morals and ethics and everything, and how he inspires others, and that's kind of his role. But with Batman, it's so different. Like I can't tell you what Batman's trying to save, what's his like morality, and where his lines are, because that's his whole thing. Is like, and Joker plays in it all the time. Well, you have to break your one rule, right?
Yeah,
You're an
yeah.
animal just like me, and everything. You're one bad day away.
Hmm.
Um, and Batman has all that dark past and his pain, and it's about how he, I guess, uses it. Um, and I don't think anyone would argue that he's a healthy human being, but he's not the hero we need, but he's the one we deserve. But
That
yeah,
that's funny you say that because I always thought about that. And the first time I thought about it, it was in Batman Begins. I think at the end, Batman was talking to Commissioner Gordon, and he was about to jump off the roof, and Commissioner Gordon said, "Well, hey, what about this fellow?" And Batman's looking, and he says, "Well, hey, he left a calling card, and and it was like the sign of the Joker, so they're making preparations for the Joker film. And it was so interesting because, I think Gordon brought up a point like, well, what happens when, we start wearing Kevlar and the criminals start, having like armor piercing, rounds and things like that, like escalation. Like it just keeps, and I always thought to myself like, is Batman making things worse in Gotham? That he's there? Like, I imagine like your typical street punk, like they're like, man, I'm gonna do this and that, and they're like, oh man, this guy's like really brought the game. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it 10 times worse. You know, I'm gonna do 10 times worse. I'm gonna get a suit too. I'm gonna train myself too before I start doing this. I'm gonna, come up with a name. I'm gonna do, make a reputation. So I always wonder, like, is he helping or?
Is he making it worse? Yeah, like he's literally beating up people and like getting people off the streets and then reducing the crime directly. But again, it's like he's seen as that force, and now that's going to have a response. And
True.
Age of Ultron, they talk about it a lot, or Vision does. He's always talking about how our very power breeds, invites, competition,
Right?
invites
I remember he.
challenge.
Yeah, that was a good point. That was a very good point. Yeah, I agree because, like with the Batman, you see even in the beginning, you see, you know, he's narrating and he's talking about that essence of like, okay, the fact that the criminals know he exists now. Now they're afraid. They think he's everywhere. So I can understand that. But yeah, but what about the people that are not intimidated by that? They say, oh, I see that as a challenge. Oh, you're strong. Well, I'm going to get stronger. Oh, you can do this. Well, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
Or you know. So yeah, I've thought about that. Like, yeah, is Batman? I don't know, is he helping Gotham? Like, I mean, yeah, for the little guys, yeah, but like the Banes and stuff like that. Like, I remember Bane showed up because somebody hired him to hunt Batman, and he hunted him.
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah, it's very interesting to,
Well,
you
that's
know,
that's what's like. That's what I'm saying. I can define Captain America's morals. You talk about him, I know where he's going to stand on an issue. I don't know where Batman's going to stand on a lot of issues. I don't know what side he's going to be on. And I don't know if you. I mean, I haven't seen the Injustice movie they came out with, but I played the first game, and essentially, I don't know if you're familiar with that storyline, but essentially,
yeah. I I actually avoided it for a while, but it came on my HBO Max, and I did sit through it. It was very difficult, but I did
is
watch
difficult because Soups is your favorite superhero, right? Yeah, so
it. Yeah,
seeing him be
yeah,
anything other than what he is a little hurtful.
yeah. It was a nice. I don't want to give it away, but it was a nice ending. It kind of cleaned it up a little bit.
That's good. But because when I'm making this argument, I'm saying like, will Batman be more authoritarian in the sense of like protecting people, like Iron Man would be sometimes? Or is Batman more for like freedom? And in that storyline, Superman, becomes authoritarian. He's kind of using his power to make a one world government and have a regime under him. And I think
Mhm.
Batman's the antithesis to that. But I'm not sure. I can't. I have to watch it or whatever. But I'm not sure. I forget why. I think just because it's wrong for there to be
Yeah,
someone in charge like that.
pretty much. You nailed it. You nailed it. And it's interesting because Batman is still himself, but he almost reminds me in the Injustice film, almost like a Captain America, but it's not like um, he inspired people, but in his way, it wasn't
Yeah,
like
he's
right.
not uppity and all everything like. But he's a man of action. He isn't about showing either. Like he doesn't feel like he has to be performative and be at the front on camera leading the charge. But he just gets
Yeah.
things done, no
Oh,
question.
oh, oh, absolutely, absolutely.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
something I
wait
really
around for permission. He doesn't like he sees a problem and he's like, okay, this needs to be solved. I'm gonna go do it.
deal with it. Let's deal with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that is
yeah.
interesting.
It
Or
is right.
Captain
It
might
is.
do a couple speeches, rally a couple people, more politician, you know, and Batman's just gonna do it.
See Captain America talking to politicians first before moving forward, and like he will talk to whoever it is he needs to talk to, run it past them, have the discussion, have the argument. Yeah, I could see that before going forward, and but I think that's one of the things we like about a lot of these heroes is that essence of, okay, I know what's right, so I'm gonna do what's right, even if you know the odds are against me. And I think that's something that we all really enjoy about these films, because
Wait, you're
I don't know, even
telling
when
You're
Go
telling me
ahead.
that the heroes that we like to see on TV and on movies and everything, that they hold objective standards? That they don't have like a subjective worldview where everyone just lives their own truth and everyone decides right for wrong for themselves? They point out right and wrong? What? Who does that, James? That's
Uh,
crazy. We
it's
aspire to be like that? That's a hero in our world? What? Come on. Now you're talking. Now you're being.
it's so funny you say that because when I'm listening to all these villains, Joker and down the line with everyone, they all seem to have that subjective standpoint. It's like, well, to them, for them, they are the good guy. They're the one that's trying to make things come to order, but they're doing it in their way, in a way
Yeah.
where be more individual freedoms to do what we want to do, or this is how we deal with the problem by destroying the corrupt, and for them, killing is not wrong because we're killing the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So but it's interesting you bring that up. I love, I love that.
It's just.
Instead, you got to have it because if you don't, boop.
Say it again. You cut out a little bit.
Yeah. We have to have that, objective standard because without that foundation, man, we're all it's the Wild West,
We're all
man.
susceptible, one bad day away, right, from doing something crazy.
Absolutely,
We have to call
absolutely.
out objective wrongs. It's okay to call out objective right and wrong. It's important.
Absolutely.
But I just think that's funny the way society is now and how we're so subjective, and we always try to look at like, oh, well, what did they go through? What's their past and everything? Um,
Yeah,
when it's like,
yeah.
no, there's still right and wrong. It's okay to call that out. And then we see that in our heroes that we so love and so cherish, right?
Yeah. Actually, honestly, that's something that has always pushed me to really enjoy these stories. Is that and essentially that's what all these stories are telling. Is telling the same story, the same concept. It's somebody seeing that something needs to change, and they took the initiative.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, they are going against the odds, and they're still like winning. So it's actually nice to see that. And it's also interesting to see stories like I guess we would call them anti-heroes, sort of like the Punisher. It's very
Yeah.
interesting to see
Their own
too when
justice.
yeah they handle things a little bit differently. Wolverine. It's very interesting to see those guys too because they have a standard, but they handle it completely different.
Yeah.
Completely. Captain America, Superman. You keep coming at them, they'll knock you out, they'll lock you up, you go to jail, and you're good. The Punisher, Wolverine. I mean, you keep coming, and that's gonna be it. That's gonna be the last time you come after them.
That's the
Yeah,
difference,
you
Red. You put them down, they go to jail, and they end up back on the streets. I put them down, they stay down.
stay there. I gotta revisit Daredevil, man. I gotta revisit Daredevil for
Daredevil
sure.
season 2, if you're not familiar, him and Punisher have an amazing, one of the best scenes in television, where they're just going back and forth on a rooftop talking philosophy. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. I love that argument, man. I love that discussion. Daredevil's like chained up right
Yeah.
there, and yeah, and I just love how the Punisher knew enough information to know Daredevil's not a bad guy. Like he knew that. He was aware of that, but yeah, that was his thing. Is like you're on the wrong side of this.
Yeah.
You have you're not handling this the way it needs to get handled. And I love how that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
I
no,
love it.
it really resonates with a lot of us because, and there's a lot of movies that we'll talk about, like a parent doing something unthinkable because their kid was, harmed or, worse, right? There's a lot of
Yeah,
themes that go into that are very human and relatable, and Punisher's kind of a symptom of that, I think.
yeah. That's
So
so
that's why we love
true.
his stories and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know when his show came out, I just felt like they did such a good job with really giving us um, not only what he was experiencing with losing his family, but even just his issues with war, like the impact it had on his
Yeah,
mind, and it really demonstrated that like he's not well. He's not well.
yeah.
He's just well, and he just turns into somebody else when it comes to combat, and they did a very good job with that. Very
Can
good
can we
job.
say the same about Batman? Is he just not well? Is he just a senile young man, not even an old man, a senile young man that just, I would argue that Cap's pretty healthy. You know, yeah, he has a super soldier serum that we don't know the adverse effects of, and maybe something made in the 1940s will randomly have a bad effect like later on. Who knows, right? um, but as far yeah, from all that pain that he went through, yeah, he's kind of just. It's not a healthy outlet. It's being the city's vigilante, and that's the thing too. Like it talked about morality is like where his line is because he's fine doing things on his own, to get them done. But okay, I won't kill
Yeah,
anybody. You know,
yeah, yeah. Break your arm and maybe your jaw, but you
I'll
know.
I'll leave you like paralyzed forever, but I won't kill you.
That always gets me is you see it in a comic book or you see it in like one of those movies and somebody's like Batman's holding their arm and they're like, well, you're not gonna see anything. It's like tell me where he is, and it's like, well, no, I'm not gonna. And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
ouch. I think sometimes he's had the audacity to tell them specifically how long it's going to take for them to heal.
yeah.
I've seen him do it. It's like, okay, yeah,
Yeah, that moral code is something that's different. But I think like we talked about, as far as the fight goes, like Cap's got his adamantium slash vibranium shield, you know,
I mean,
nice blend of those two strongest metals, like super protective, and then he has his super soldier serum. He can just jump and lift and
he's a weapon. He's a weapon.
yeah,
He's a
and he
weapon.
has like really
No.
good training too.
Mm.
Whereas Batman, peak of physical human fitness, super good training with martial arts, and Ra's al Ghul in the League of Shadows, where he can conceal himself and use the shadows to his advantage. You talked about environment, but he also has all those gadgets and those tech, and he has that.
It's the only thing I see that would help him maintain something with Captain America. It would be the gadgets. Like I can see him, you know, Captain America throwing the shield and Batman learning like, oh, okay, it always comes back to him, and then one of the next times Captain America's throwing it, he gets it back and it's like a bomb or something, or he's like
That'd be good.
I could see that. I could see that very easily. It's like, oh, Batman learns. He learns. That's the thing that's I enjoy about him is he's watching. He's watching. He's learning. You know, and then he's always like reflecting after the fight as well. I loved how in the Batman we see like we didn't necessarily see a fight or anything, and Bruce Wayne is like going over it, but even with his his device through his eyes, his lens, where he's like looking over things, like that's the Batman I know. Like he's always processing things. He's always processing and learning. Okay, this is what this person does, or this is their fighting style, or this is and then he'll learn, he'll study, and it doesn't take him very long to figure out what he needs to do, what's the next step. But I'm just wondering, like even with Captain America, I do think that if Batman had to come back to him, it would help him a lot. But Batman wouldn't. He would know not to just do blow for blow. He would do other things.
So you're assuming that Batman would lose the first fight?
I think it wouldn't be easy, but I think he would.
Really?
Yeah, it wouldn't be easy because
Okay.
the only thing I'm thinking about is eventually, he's gonna get tired. That's my thing. He's gonna get tired, and Cap's not gonna get tired.
Well, the problem is like, what would Cap be doing that Bats is even fighting him? So the concept itself is like pretty bad. I feel like Cap would like same thing he did to Thor and Tony Stark in Avengers, like the first Avengers movie. He throws the shield, hits them both, and he's like, "Hey, let's be friends." Like,
I love that scene. I just love that scene. I just love how he's like, put it down. It's like, hey, don't tell him to put it down.
yeah,
Oh, you want me to?
I gotta watch that movie again, man.
That was for them to all meet each other for the first time. Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
He's like, "You're a little out of your range, Cap. These guys are basically gods. There's only one god, ma'am, and I'm sure he doesn't dress like that." He goes, yeah, he parachutes down.
Oh, that was. Oh, love that scene.
Yeah.
That was my,
But I feel like that's what he'd do if they're fighting, and Cap would just make them see eye to eye and become friends with him.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I can see him complimenting them too. And letting them, inspiring them. Hey, you guys, you have this strength. Like people need this strength, and to serve our communities and serve people. Look how strong you guys are. Like this is a gift that to serve other people with, and I could see him doing that.
And
And then
Batman's just analyzing the shield, not even listening to what he's saying. He's just analyzing the metal and
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Um,
Okay, so that's the weakness of this metal. Huh,
I feel like
electrify first, then a little bit of fire, and
yeah. Um, I feel like it would be like the only way they could fight. Let's say Bucky is still Winter Soldier. Bucky's about to do some things in Gotham.
oh
Cap
yeah, yeah,
goes
yeah.
and he's like, he's not a real villain. He's just, he's my buddy. And then Batman's like, battering.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I can see that. I can see that. I can see that.
So given that motivation, Cap wouldn't stop fighting. Cap wouldn't try to reason. He'd be like, I need to get to Bucky, whatever, right? And
Yeah,
let's say
I can.
Batman. So let's say maybe Batman caught Bucky, has him in captivity in the Batcave. Cap locates
Mhm.
him, right? And basically the fight's in the Batcave. Batman's got all that he needs, you know, versus Cap.
Ah.
Bec-
See, that's different. I'm telling you, the environment, it's different.
uh-huh.
It's different. That man would have the advantage with something like that, I would imagine,
I would
because it's
hope
not,
so
not
on his home turf.
well, yeah, yeah. But that's what I'm saying, and it's with like that with a lot of characters. Like, I don't know, like even with Superman, if
I
you're
feel
in an
like
environment,
Superman's for sure, like in canon, gotten whooped in the Fortress of Solitude. I don't know what or how or who did it, but I just feel in my soul that it's canon in some line that he got whooped on his front porch.
just yeah. But environment has a lot to do with because I don't know, certain characters they're just very good at certain environments, and what's happening around them, what they have access to. I don't know. It's very fascinating to me because you have certain characters where if it's just like I said, if it's just a ring, you obviously if it's just blow for blow, you have certain people that just have the advantage. But if you put people in a different environment, then yeah, it's I don't know, like Wolverine, like I said, he can easily he would go into like some type of animal, stealth mode, and he could pick off people. He could take on an entire army if it's just even if they're somewhat trained and they have some adamantium weapons and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if it's I don't know. It depends on the environment. He could easily pick some people off versus all 100 guys coming after him. Then it's different. It would be different. You
Yeah.
know.
Um, yeah, so maybe Batcave might be a little too much because Captain, he's not like crazy powerful either. He's still just, just the guy
Oh
with the
yeah, yeah,
shield, and he does have his super strength and his.
and yeah, all that stuff, and yeah, I would imagine Batman would use that stuff as well. It's like okay, blows don't work, so here's some gas. And it's like okay,
Well, that's the thing,
what
and
do you?
like, what is like? I'm sure he has some adhesive, like
Yeah,
that'll trap his feet, and then it's like, what does Cap do? Like, try to break it with the shield?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and yeah, and yeah. But I know Batman would be analytical, and there's a lot of basic things he would probably use to, you know. Yeah, it's very interesting to even think about this because I know they're both very good at combat. But
So,
I just know
because
those would.
generally, like, given almost literally any other superhero, I'd say Bat gets beaten for sure first time meeting, and then afterwards is like, then he can come
Okay.
back and he'll win. He'll set up a scenario where
Yeah.
he wins. That's why I don't like arguing Batman because with prep time he just wins every fight.
Pretty much, and it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah,
Like even with Iron Man, I can imagine he would already hack. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Iron Man's pretty
they're
intelligent. I don't
both
know.
pretty tech heavy, so that's a weird. I always think like Batman has an EMP, but how has Iron Man not been in contact with an EMP situation yet?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I know he has many suits that do it, and depending on what Iron Man you're facing, like his suit
yeah, yeah.
has like all of those factors, right?
True. That's true. Yeah, I even thought about like Magneto at one point. Like I was saying,
Dude, don't get me started about how Magneto destroys like all the Avengers, all like
yeah, it's so funny. I thought I seen a meme. I posted a meme, something about that. I think it was a joke. I don't know if you would have seen it, but I think I seen it and I just reposted it. But it says something like, "Why Magneto isn't in the MCU?" And it just had like, like one of the Magnetos in the films. They just like copied and pasted him, but they had like, Thor's hammer, the Infinity Gauntlet, all this stuff. Like he just grabbed,
yeah.
Hawk, you know. And it's like, and I was just thinking about, so yeah, yeah, that
There's
would
not much you can do.
very well. That'd be a quick fight.
Master of magnetism for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's another example of like, you're in the city. I mean, he's pretty much he can just grab everything he wants, even the pipes under the ground. Like you're done. You're done.
And
You're done.
I don't know if you're familiar with the show Iron Man Armored Adventures. It was more from my childhood. It was a Nickelodeon show back like I want to say 2010, 29, 2009, 2011, maybe sometime then.
Or was it kind of like
What happened?
uh, was it? Did it look like? I know there's a
It
lot
had a
of different.
unique animation style. It was like bright colors, a little bit weird,
Okay,
but essentially it was like teenage Tony and, going through all that stuff.
briefly seen that. I briefly seen. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
That was
show was
actually pretty.
cool.
Yeah, I do remember that. They didn't have a lot of seasons for that,
It
right?
was two seasons, and what I can tell if you'll know it or not by this, but the nemesis, the Mandarin, was like a robotic samurai look.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I do remember that. I actually enjoyed watching that.
I love
I'm
that
surprised
show.
you didn't go any further. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
but so they have an episode in season two where he actually meets Magneto.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, let's.
And that Magneto's a man, like older, or
No,
is he normal age?
he's his like Magneto self, you know.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
And
interesting.
I think it has something to do with him like developing a suit or something that reflects the magnetic waves. Some BS like
Oh,
that. Like it's a kids show and it's Iron Man show, so he's gonna win. Or I don't think he won, but he like diffused the situation.
okay. Okay. Of course. That's funny. That's so funny. Yeah, I imagine with Magneto in existence in the Marvel universe, like Iron Man would have no choice but to have to create many substitutes for that's not something that
Yeah.
Magneto can. Yeah, because that wouldn't work out very well. Yeah,
Um,
that would be a
and
that
I
suit
think
would be
I've
a
seen
coffin.
like the dialogue before be like, "Oh, I'm called Iron Man, but the suit is very little like actual iron, like it's all these other substances or whatever."
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's true. I've actually seen Tony in comic books and cartoons make a lot of reference to that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's true.
so when you're talking about Batman versus Iron Man, that plays into it. But as far as Cap versus Iron Man, the reason why I'm even considering the first
Hmm.
fight, as something that actually happens because Cap is a little limited. He has his tactical advantage. He has his grand moral, leadership skills that cannot
Yeah,
be
yeah,
replaced. But
yeah.
when you're like fighting someone who's like a master of like single hand combat and like tacticians and like you know using the shadows and all those things to his environment, who's literally spent years, decades of his life mastering the environment around him and using it to his benefit. Whereas Cap's been
Absolutely.
in plenty of battles, leading armies and mass strategy like that. Um, I wouldn't say he's as focused on the environment as Batman is.
I would agree with you. I would agree.
I mean, Cap's seen a lot of environments. He's been all over the world. He can work in any environment. He's used to the harsh conditions, but as far as like literally using it to your every advantage in every scenario, Bats
Right.
probably has the advantage in that sense.
Definitely. Definitely.
And when you're talking about strictly like critical thinking, problem solving, like I can't say that Cap will beat anybody with enough prep time. That's not
Like,
established. Where Batman
ah, that's,
will.
oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not a
So very.
question. So because of that critical thinking skill and like in fight, response time and everything, I think Cap would last. It's tough because again, you said it's about Cap's outlasting and his like determination versus maybe Batman just putting him in a scenario he can't win
Mm,
because he can't
mm.
go blow for blow. So he'd probably realize that,
Oh,
maybe
absolutely.
put him in
And
that
very quick.
scenario
Yeah.
that
I
Cap
think
couldn't
Batman
win
would be
in.
quick. Yeah, and I could also see Batman using maneuvers, maybe like jujitsu and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I can't go blow for blow, so I'm not going to try. I'm going to do other things to avoid that. Because yeah, and yeah, I would think even during the fight, Batman would say, okay, he's obviously not getting tired. You know, he's obviously capable of doing this. He's obviously, so yeah, yeah. No, you bring up some good points. Yeah, it's funny because there's so many different variables, even for like what's happening, like the reason why they're fighting.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. You may not be familiar with this. I don't know if you are, but there was a special event. I don't know how many years ago, where DC and Marvel actually did
They did a
do
crossover where they talked about some of that stuff, right?
Amaglam Comics actually, and it initially had different people from the Marvel DC universe paired to fight. For example, Superman and the Hulk had to fight. And Batman actually was paired with Captain America. And they were the first two that realized what was really happening. So as they were fighting, they both realized like, okay, we don't actually have to fight. We can actually work together to figure out what's happening. And those two actually stopped everyone else from fighting. Yeah.
That's
So
a
they
cop
learned like,
out. That's a cop out.
yeah, and they were like fighting in the sewer. I know they maneuvered themselves in this. I actually have the comics somewhere, so if I ever have them, I'm gonna have to show them to you.
Yeah,
I remember buying them because I was like, "Whoa, what is this cool?" And then yeah,
I'll
and
look
go
them
ahead.
up because I would think they'd have Iron Man versus Cap. I mean, Iron Man versus Batman, and then like Thor versus Superman. Maybe that's one I want to talk about, and we might talk about some other time because I know Superman's susceptible to magic. But go on.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, and what was really interesting is eventually in the Amaglam comics, somehow different characters merged and they created like, yeah, it was very weird. I know like Batman and Wolverine became Darklaw. It was really
I think yeah, they were trying a bunch of stuff. I remember.
very, very odd, but Doctor Strange fate.
Yeah.
Very, yeah, very
Um,
interesting.
yeah, but I think their personal fight. Okay, because like you said, they would both ideally and morally like probably align with each other and not stop fighting. But if you give Cap a incentive like Bucky to continue to fight, to continue to like, I need to get him out of here. They don't understand. They're gonna kill him or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Um, and Bat to like, I guess it'd have to be on Bat's home turf, and it like he'd have to be trying to stop Bucky or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening.
So
Yeah, it would
in
have to be
in that
that.
scenario though, I'm just because I want to say Bat's tactical mind would outplay him over time, but it's about whether he lasts that long. And when he was presented with Bane, like the evidence we have is that he got his back broken. He didn't realize with Bane that he won't win it hand to hand,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
didn't tactically retreat and create a scenario. So it's hard arguing for that, you know, against Cap.
yeah. The only thing that I would consider when it comes to Batman and still I like both these guys. But I would like to think like with each battle for both of them, they've learned more. Moving forward. So I would like to think Batman would say, okay, this guy obviously is strong. Okay, the shield's always coming back to him. Okay, he's obviously not getting tired. I'm saying physically he's not getting tired. I can see he's not breathing hard after a certain this hour or whatever of fighting. Yeah, I would think Batman would say, okay, so the blow for blow doesn't work with him, so we're gonna do other things. And I could see him during the fight using gases and using
Tech.
mist and using things. Oh, absolutely, yeah, I could see him. Like, okay, this doesn't work, so we're gonna do something else. And it's so fascinating to actually see some of that in the comic books or the movies when you see Batman fighting somebody for the first time and he doesn't know what they're about. So he uses his regular strategies, and for some of the guys that are actually trained, um, you can see Batman figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I
Yeah.
remember in one of the League films, Batman was fighting. I think Superman. They kind of had a very rambunctious Superman that was kind of still learning himself and arrogant, but yeah, Batman was learning like, okay, I obviously can't go head to toe with toe to toe with him. So, but he realized like, okay, but he looks like he can't see through certain dimensions and things like that. So he went underground and that kind of stuff. But no, yeah, you bring up some good points, and there's so many different variables with this fight, and then I feel like they're both characters that a lot of us we love. We absolutely love. They have these rich histories of
No, screw
and
all that. They're fighting to the death. Who wins, James? Who comes out alive? We had the philosophical discussion. We talked about their morals. I want blood.
uh, Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Um, I'm a little because I feel like I don't give either of them enough credit because I don't read many of their stuff myself, and I know of them. I know
Oh.
generally their stuff, but I don't know specific fights all the time. I think I
Oh.
know
Okay.
more
Okay.
about Batman than Cap, and because of that, besides, I mean, Civil War is probably where him and Iron Man fought a lot, but I'm sure there's examples of him training against Iron Man all the time, and Iron Man has that tech, he has those gadgets, right? And but they're able to go toe to toe. They're seen as equals. So given all of that, I would assume, and Cap uses his shield to his advantage. He uses his battle tactics to his advantage, his sparring to his advantage, and he also uses his superhuman abilities to his advantage. He can use hyper mobility and hyper endurance to avoid a lot of the things that would be thrown at him. You know, um, so in that sense, I don't want to just because I was picturing in my head, oh, Batman would just like throw something at his feet that like was like a puffy like thing that like kept someone in place, right? So he's immobile. But it's like Cap wouldn't just fall for that. Cap would like do some flips,
I would like to think Batman, at this point, he would do it quickly, like it wouldn't be obvious that it's coming. The only thing I could see is that, you know, I don't think it would slow down Captain America too much, like it would an ordinary person. I think Cap would look down like, rep it, like, okay, whoa, whoa, now I have to watch out for that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I liked your example of him throwing the shield and it coming back with an explosive. That's a pretty good like.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I mean, think about it. I mean, think about Batman. He's always watching, and after like the second time, I think you would say, "Oh, okay, interesting."
He
Interesting.
uses the enemy's strength against them a lot of the time.
It's always, always. Bane, he's always going for the tubes. Yeah, everything. Even when it comes to certain villains that are big talkers, Batman may know, okay, I need to keep them talking or distract them, or use that to my advantage. So it's always been a psychological thing for him, and that's what intrigues me. Is um, you know, we got alluded to it earlier, but yeah, I mean, maybe because he's troubled himself, he understands how a lot of these people operate, and that's always been something I've always been intrigued by. Is Commissioner Gordon will talk to Batman, in the dark. Batman's coming out of the, communicating with him in secret, and Commissioner Gordon will be looking at a form or somebody's file, and he's trying to pronounce the psychological issue that person has, and Batman already knows it. He'll
Yeah.
he'll pronounce, he'll say it for him. And it has like 10 syllables. Already knows it. And so I don't know. It's very intriguing to me.
This
Like,
one's so tough for me because I keep going back and forth in my mind. Like, I want to stick to the actual superhero will beat him in a first fight because that's just how it is, right? Because in my head, like people always like, oh, Superman versus Batman. Like that's not a conversation. Let's stop being children. That's not a conversation. Superman, and he's dead.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
And that would be, yeah. Well, yeah. Even just the super speed and just grab him, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Do whatever you want with Batman after that.
So like we can play, make pretend, yeah, the human can have a chance, and yeah, Martha, and you'll win, but
Yeah, you stand a chance, Batman. Whoa! Don't get me.
but I'm having trouble with this one. Like I want to side with Cap because of his abilities and everything. And in a straight up fight, I think yeah, like you said, the Octagon, yeah, no, like that would happen. And I want to say that Cap, because of that, would be able to just get Bucky out, get that situation. Maybe he won't beat Batman to a pulp, but he'll achieve his objective. But I'm thinking again, environment's really important, like you said, because when I think like of him doing that in the Batcave, I'm like, that's not. There's no way. There's no way.
Oh, no,
Like,
no, no.
like Batman would be able to trap him, subdue him. It's too easy in my mind, especially the cool factor of Batman. No writer's gonna let Batman get dissed like that. Like, I want to actually go through his history and like see the times he's been embarrassed, like like back broken, apart from every first encounter, like where he has to
Yeah,
learn the lesson and then come back stronger or come back with a plan. But because there is a real big like, he's Batman. It just
yeah.
it
Oh,
works, you know.
yeah, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
and with Cap, it's like he's so driven and he won't stop, and so I think yeah, I don't want to go too brazen and just be like Cap would walk in, bust out Bucky, and be out. That I wouldn't say that happened.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
let's what environment then? I mean, in Gotham City, I think if it's a better chance, but still, Batman's like that's his hunting ground. He knows the ins and outs. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And then if it's nighttime, he has the advantage. And then if it's depends on even the environment. If it's an alley, if it's this, if it's just I don't know. It's if it's just straight up, yeah, Captain definitely will handle it. For sure. Even if Batman tried to maintain something with him, you know, uh, after a while, it's like Cap wouldn't get tired, and Batman would. He would.
so it's about would Cap be able to like withstand Batman's like unique attacks, like
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
gadgets, his tactics, his darkness using the environment.
All that's coming. All of that's coming. It wouldn't be a physical Batman. His thing is like we're gonna end this as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Yeah, we're gonna end it as soon as possible.
Cap is
Yeah.
significantly less of a superhero when his shield gets knocked out of his hand every single time. Every single fight.
That's so true. I just watched actually yeah the Infinity War. What was it? An Infinity War? No, I think it was End. But, yeah, I was like, wow, he's like a different person without the shield almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a different. Yeah. The only thing that confuses me, honestly, Tim, is that sometimes it seems like movie versions of these characters and comic book version versus, you know, I don't know, cartoon movie. They're just like the cartoon movie Batman. He's like invincible. He's just like
They
invincible.
really make him like the dude. Like that scene,
And
like Green Lantern's been so crapped on, and that scene where he like takes his ring just cause, like a phantom. And he's like, "How'd you do that?" And it's like you weren't concentrating.
I,
And then he's like,
yeah,
"That won't happen again unless I want it to." Like, get out of here. Dude's gonna get something off your finger. Take it. Try. Like, how am I not gonna notice? Come on, dude.
oh my gosh, I love that. That's so true.
Like,
That's so true. I remember that scene too. I remember that. I'm like, what?
yeah.
Come on. Oh, that was wild. Oh, that's wild. Yeah, that's a very interesting discussion. Yeah, we're gonna have to do more of these in the future.
I
Different characters.
we gotta come up with a conclusion, James. A consensus. Where do we stand?
I think in my opinion, it depends on the environment. So if we're saying the Octagon, Captain America has the advantage.
Okay.
If it's just straight up and all the gadgets are gone, or are we including
No, no, no.
everything that
Okay,
they have?
don't make it a slaughter, James. Give the man his gadgets. Give the kid his toys. Like, give the baby his bottle. Okay, let's like where you. Even if you take all the gadgets and stuff away and take Cap's shield away, Cap still takes it. Like he chokes him out.
Oh
Um,
my God. I
yeah,
mean, I
and
don't know.
in a debate room, or in like a political meeting, Cap's gonna win every time. He's gonna get the room against him.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah, yeah. I would say straight up fight definitely Captain America for sure.
What's the environment? Is it every other fight then? Like every other environment, Bats takes it. First fight, not just second.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, yeah. If it's yeah, if
Is
it's
is there any environment in Gotham? Let's say at night. Any environment in Gotham where Cap could win at night.
the only scenario I see Captain Cap winning in Gotham is if there was like an open area and there was nothing around. But I feel like Batman has the advantage when it comes to just anything. Even if you're in the sewers and I don't know, he just has the advantage. He knows, he can use. I don't know. He has just things to. Whether there's pipes around, there's electric fences, if there's power lines, like he just everything is available to him. Everything. And I don't see Captain America saying, "Oh, hey, let me use this."
Well, I
This.
mean, let's not forget, Cap is a master of geometry. He's a
Oh,
master of geometry. So give him a wall, and
you
that's ding, 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 like that.
I actually really enjoy seeing that, like in especially in cartoons and stuff like that. Like he's fighting and boom, and then the person's like, you missed, and
Yeah.
just like comes back. Where I love that. I love that. I
What's
love that.
funny is in the Ultimate Alliance games, when you're Captain America, there's a button where you just throw it, and then you just hold your hand out and you control where it's going, like you're
Oh,
Magneto or something.
oh, oh my,
It's pretty funny.
that's there he is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So much of my core just wants me to say Cap would win because Batman's a punk. But
Like I said, I mean, if it's just you know,
I mean,
but yeah,
realistically, like in his own canon, like unless it is a petty thug, he has to come back the second fight and win later. Like, when is there one of his mainline villains or an actual villain of substance that he takes care of in a first interaction, or he's at least not, I don't know.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, dang. Uh, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does come down to environment. I really, I hate that I can't come up with an
Do it.
answer.
It has everything to do with everything, man. And it's not only him. It's like even Magneto, like everybody. It depends on where the fight is. Then we can see, okay, this person obviously has the advantage over this person, Because yeah, if you're in fighting Magneto and you're in the desert, it's like, okay, now like there's nothing to throw at you, other than like maybe, his
Well,
EM. Well, Magneto has a lot of other abilities as well,
yeah,
but it's different. But the fight's different. You know what I mean? It's
it
different.
is.
You're
But
in the desert and pipes to throw at you, and
yeah, if he's in an all plastic container cell, he's too much iron in your blood, right? Like, yeah. Um, but
so
so
there's
so what is Cap's preferred environment? Like a helicarrier, like an aircraft carrier? If Batman's on a military base, Cap just wins. Like, what is?
well, honestly, I just think open fields with no distractions. I think he would be, in
Hmm.
any even if it was a wide street and there's just nothing around. That's no distractions, no little things that can be used to. Yeah, I think Captain America straight up. If it's just a straight up fight.
So let's
But I
say it
just feel
is
like
like because an alley is one thing, right? There are a lot of dark corners. There's a lot of subterfuge that can happen. Um,
yeah,
even but like say just a regular like a wide street, right? Right, cars parked. There's sidewalks. Maybe Cap has it because it's a wider area. There's not a quick, Batman can shoot things at him, but I mean, come on.
I mean, I would like to think, yeah, Captain America would win in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
I would like to, yeah, because to me, yeah, it's not too much to do, cars and yeah, that's not too much to do.
I'll stand firm on Cap's gonna take it majority of the time, first fight,
Okay, I'm with you on that. I would
because
agree.
like depending on the environment, there are environments where Bats can win with his craftiness and his subterfuge that Cap isn't used to. It's
Hmm.
just important about the mentalities, and Bats is a master strategist. He can analyze that
Yes.
stuff. Where Cap's more just bang your head against it until you win. I can do this all day.
Uh,
That was an interesting one.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I think in the future, man, we're gonna have to bring up a few more of these.
Yeah.
That was actually very nice, right?
Yeah, if you guys liked that, go ahead and let us know in the comments what superheroes you'd like to see next. Maybe we can do it like once a month. There's like four
Yeah,
episodes a
that
month
sounds like that. Yeah,
typically, and
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, that's a good idea. Not too often, but often enough.
yeah, superhero showdowns. Yeah, that's an interesting one though, because it's like I said, a lot of times when people bring up Batman, it's usually just like, oh, he wins with prep time. If not, he loses. Right? It's pretty black and white
Hmm.
for me, but this one was pretty nice. Um,
That's so.
if you guys have any new ones, like let us know in the comments. But also, we usually do questions. We haven't had any in a while. But yeah, email your questions to stageclearpod@gmail.com. You can also reach us there. Any comments, but stageclearpod@gmail.com. Go ahead and email us your questions there. We'll address them on the podcast. I gotta start asking on social media again, because that's how we got it before. So
That's true. Yeah, actually, I would like to learn how to ask questions on Instagram. I know
I'll
we can
show
do
you
that.
after this.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be cool.
All right. Well, to wrap up here, a nice little 2-hour episode. I'll go ahead and give us some plugs again. Like I said, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here for Stage 13 of the Stage Clear podcast. Stage Clear. Um, we got the podcast up on any podcast platform that you would like to listen to, audio format. We have video format on our YouTube channel, Stage Clear Podcast, and we have clips that will go up Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays of the most recent long form podcast, which drops Mondays on all the other platforms. So check us out there if you don't have time to listen to all of it. We'd love to see your likes and comments there. And 5-star reviews for the audio platforms we'd appreciate so that it can get to other people that might like it as well. Tell us why you like it. Tell us what you enjoy. Again, we've talked about, I've interacted with people in my life that, like in person, that really enjoy it and talk about, things that they like. So we'd love to hear you guys online. It's people that we don't know that watches it, please let us know. What was it called? The Defense of the Unborn is our most popular episode so far.
Yeah,
You know,
looking over our episodes, and yeah, you're right, man.
a lot of
I was
people
looking
liked that
at
one.
and likes. Yeah, man, that was interesting.
So that was cool. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, all the links will be in the description for all the other side projects we're working on. Hit us up there, and we appreciate you. Appreciate your support.
definitely, definitely.
All right, you want to close
Yeah,
this out
man,
with some prayer?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, man, I like this episode. I felt like we took a different approach with it. And it was nice. I
I,
like.
I feel like typically we have longer segments for the other two, but entertainment kind of took it. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. I think we're gonna attract a lot of people with like minds actually with that discussion. All right. All right, Lord, thank you very much for just every opportunity that you give all of us to just to not only minister to others, providing just clarity with issues in relationships, with just how to deal with difficulties and things like that, and just continue to pour into our podcast. And yeah, just reach out to people that can use the information that we're offering, whether it's related to ministry work, the gospel, just being a better person, considering the different aspects of our lives and a person's life that they can work on, and even just entertainment related things, just having just really wonderful dialogues about mythologies and entertainment and things like that, and just continue to pour into us. And thank you for all the beautiful blessings and all the amazing people that you're putting in our lives. And watch over the people that are even listening to this right at this moment. God bless them. Hopefully they will connect with us more closely. And yeah, just we can just have wonderful relationships, building a beautiful wonderful community of people with like minds. So thank you for everything, Lord, that you are constantly pouring in our lives, knowing that we don't deserve these things. In Jesus' name, we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, buddy. One last plug, real
Work.
quick, and it will be in the description. But the Stage Clear podcast has an Instagram now. Used to be my personal one, but I'm making one specific for the podcast. 1-minute
Hey,
clips go up on there. It also has a TikTok where I make the 1-minute clips. But yeah, so if you just want your little tidbits, we got them there. They're also on YouTube, so you're not missing anything if you watch us there. But yeah, so visit all our stuff. We appreciate it. We'll see you
cool.
guys. Be safe out there. Have a good week. Be positive. Help somebody out. Be intentional with what you're doing every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're out. See you guys next week.